Lavanath Tugaru is a student from India studying mechanical engineering. He's in his he's liked TFOS so much that he came back for a second year, and he enjoys new areas to study, and he's decided to go into the emerging field of biomedical engineering. And he's going to make a presentation today on life supportive exoskeleton for astronauts. And it's his initial study in biomedical engineering. And so, Lavanath, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you for my introduction. Greetings, one and all. This is Lavnit. I'm here to discuss on my topic design of exoskeleton for musculoskeletal support of human body under low gravity conditions and its performance evaluation by fluid dynamic analysis. These are the topics I'm going to discuss this day. So, first, why is human space travel is risky? Space is fascinating. Every human once in their lifetime dreams to experience the free float of space. But the human body has evolved and adjusted to our Earth's environment. Any change in those normal conditions can cause mild to severe effects on its functioning, which can directly affect its health. So some of those effects are lack of oxygen, required oxygen levels, change in gravity. These two are the major potential dangers associated with the space travel, along with many hazards like sun's UV radiation, small floating meteorites, no ambient pressure, and many more. So due to these reasons, almost all our body systems are going to be affected. So when coming when coming to the short flight even to the ISS and back to Earth, you can see there is a loss of bone mineral density and orthostatic hypotension, which is a sudden drop of blood pressure when the person is moving from a static position for a long time. So here you can see on Earth condition, the gravity pulls the fluid down and the muscles moves the fluid up. But in the absence of gravity, there is low volume of blood supplied to the lower region of the body. So this makes the face bulged and look like fluffy face, and the legs become chicken legs. So these problems need to be addressed. There are some solutions adapted. Let us see what are the solutions. So for these existing problems related to musculoskeletal, like loss of bone mineral density and muscle atrophy, there are two methods adapted. The astronauts who are traveling were given special diet and extra exercise and medications to ensure that there is reduced amount of bone loss. And sometimes a person with higher bone density is also chosen for the mission. Coming to cardiovascular problems, there is to reduce the orthostatic hypotension and loss of hydrostatic pressure. So astronauts are given with pharmacological interveners, which directly acts with a targeted hormone, which is controlling those orthostatic hypotension and all. And also, artificial gravity is also under consideration for solving these issues. But there are issues with these solutions, like when you consider the special exercise, there is a risk of exercise-induced muscle damage due to over and unaccustomed exercise. It is unlikely to find a person with higher bone density all the time. And issues related with cardiovascular solutions are medicines which are used for reducing this problem may hinder the brain activity and also causes many side effects which are inevitable. And creation of artificial gravity is also not possible in the near future. So there is a need to address these problems in a proper way so that the colonization which is going to start in the future, like to support the astronauts going to interplanetary missions, there should be some need. So our solution for this problem is we want to design an exoskeleton for astronauts which can be worn during space exploration. So this exoskeleton should have the distinctive features like in any case or situation, it should only provide additional support to the astronaut. That means it should not be a burden to him or her. it should be easily worn and removed. It should have the capacity to work alongside human body, and also the device is designed for space like space short and other equipment. And most importantly, it should consume as low energy or power requirements as possible. So based on this, we want to design. So coming to the consideration, design considerations, the biological considerations comes first because this is a system designed for life support. So these are the anatomical planes, three anatomical planes. The sagittal plane which divides the left and right body, and coronal plane which divides front and back side of the body, and transverse plane which divides the top and bottom. So then upper side of the body or head with region is known as cranial, and the lower side of the foot side is known as caudal. And coming to lateral, which is farther from the body, and medial is near to the body. So these are the basic anatomical terms which we are going to come across. So in our body, the synovial joints plays a major role for the complex movements. So these are the types of six synovial joints. One is hinge joint, the other is pivot joint, the third one is saddle, fourth one is condyloid, is ball and socket, and plain one. So why are we discussing these joints? Because our skeletal muscles attached to our skeleton, they work together to put our body in the motion. This helps our human body to be in a stable posture during static and dynamic movements, which we come across during our daily work or doing any other kind of activities. So imagine our body as a series of links or segments which are joined using different types of joints discussed before. Now these links starts moving or rotating around the axis of rotation of the joint. But if they are left like that, they can move and rotate in any range, but there should be some restriction to safeguard our body. So for that, our muscles work in tandem with each other to restrict this movement for the safety of human body. This very term brought us the range of motion. So consider like example, our biceps and triceps, one elongates and other contracts to keep our humerus joint, humerus bone moving in relation with the radius and ulna. So here you can see different joints of our body. This is a glenohumeral joint, sternoclavicular, and these are other body links which are going to be rotated around us. Based on this, there are body motions moving. So here you can see extension and flexion. So extension denotes the increase in the angle at the joint, and flexion is decrease in the angle at the joint. Coming to lateral and medial rotation, rotation towards the lateral side of the body is lateral rotation, and towards medial it is medial rotation. And here adduction and abduction, movement of a joint or body part towards the lateral side is known as adduction, and the movement of the same away from our lateral side of the body is known as adduction. And combination of these all these gives circumduction movement, which you can see when you are moving your shoulder joint. So based on this, you can see range of motion for different areas of the body, like see here neck rotation, neck extension, and here you can see a shoulder rotation, adduction and abduction, shoulder flexion, and here you can see the elbow flexion and extension. Here you can see forearm and radius and ulna wrist, and here you can see hip flexion, and here in 12th one you can see hip adduction and abduction. So why are we discussing all these range of motion? So because we need to we need to ensure that these movements are never restricted in any form. I mean, they need to be freely moved in their range, but our device has to work alongside of that one. So we need to take into consideration when we are designing our uh, device. So next comes the breathability. Breathability here refers to the one our skin pores which breathe, not like the lungs. So Other than breathing, our skin has many operations like protecting the internal organs and sending sensory information, perspiration with the surroundings, and also protecting our body and many other functions. These operations should not be disturbed at any cost, because it is very important. Consider tying a cloth around your body and see after some time how you are going to feel. So as this exoskeleton is going to be placed over our, which it is going to cover our body, we need to ensure that this that should allow breathability. Now coming to load bearing capability, our body is designed to be in a dynamic motion always. The musculoskeletal system works to keep the body in stable position during the dynamic condition. So any load we are going to add on our body changes the center of gravity of the CG, which can destabilize the body. And also we cannot add weight wherever we want for two reasons. One is shift of CG, and the second is there are many nerves passing under our skin, so we can create a compressive force on that, which can result in numbness. So for this reason, we have decided to add weight or load only at the well-known locations, shoulders. So here you can see the weight bearing capability of the shoulder. So other than the biological considerations which we have discussed before, there need to be some allowances should be given to the biological side. So need is the very first thing that forms as a base for all these considerations, and they are never ending. But the more you take them into account, the more complex the design becomes. But it can make the, despite of its complexity, it can make the design perfect. These exoskeletons are more specific to the person whom it is being designed. So, and it mostly depends on the user comfort and the safety, which accounts for the major part during design. Based on this, let us discuss the working principle of exoskeleton. But why do you think there is a need of exoskeleton? This exoskeleton was designed to create a sense of gravity for the person wearing it. Unlike the artificial gravity, which we have discussed previously, this device creates some sense of gravity for the person who wears it. And compared to internal devices which are placed inside our body, external devices needs less clearances. Like if you consider a pacemaker and any band like Fitbit or something, which Fitbit will be easier to complete the all the legal issues. So this exoskeleton was chosen based on the purpose. And at present, this exoskeleton can address problems related with loss of bone density, orthostatic hypotension, muscle atrophy, and hydrostatic pressure loss. All these problems may seem difficult, but they are all the same in some or the other way, because they arise from the same body. So let us see how they are related. Here you can see big base, because of low gravity, our movements are freed and we can lose contact with the ground. Because of these free movements, there is less exercise over our bones, which can give muscle atrophy, bone density loss, and orthostatic hypotension. And also with loss of contact with the ground, we can lose the hydrostatic pressure. So in this way, these are all related. So now coming to the working principle, as the astronaut starts to experience the weightlessness, everything around them starts little bit lighter. They require very less amount of force to lift any object, like whether it is quite heavy than their body, but they can still move with a less effort compared to on earth condition. So here we want to restrict that movement so that he or she can she will be needing additional amount of force to pick or place, move the objects around them, and the very limbs of the body itself. So this very idea led us to design this exoskeleton as a support. So here you can see a piston placed on this hand of this invisible person, so that he is trying to move his arm, and this is restricting. But so, and this exoskeleton will be wrapped around the body from way bottom, foot to shoulders. We want to use the fluid power to restrict the body movements, as said before, so that he or she will be in need of additional effort. So are we really making them immovable? No. This exoskeleton only ensures that he or she will be using the same effort that they generally use to do the work on Earth, even at those reduced and low gravity conditions. But how this is going to help? So when we restrict the body movements, because of their additional effort they are going to use, it will be it will be considered, it can be considered into exercising, unlike the one we unlike the one they are generally doing now. So in that way it can help the bone density loss and muscle atrophy. Coming to the cardiovascular or the orthostatic hypotension, so to induce hydrostatic pressure, we are employing a pressurizing unit lodged into the shoe sole, which is connected to this exoskeleton. This exoskeleton carries different types of embedded fluid lines or conduits, which runs all around the body to connect different areas or regions of the exoskeleton with fluid reservoir or accumulator. There are four fluid accumulators in this exoskeleton, two primary positioned on the shoulders and two secondary, which are going to be placed on lower limb of the body. So here you can see the schematic of the components in exoskeleton. So this is the primary accumulator or reservoir. This is the shoulder joint controlling unit. This is elbow and elbow joint controlling unit. This is hip joint controlling unit. Here you can see the knee one, and here there will be a shoe which will be controlled by this secondary reservoir. So in this way, the exoskeleton will be having the fluid embedded into this fluid circuit embedded into itself. So this is the transfer section to show how the joint controlling unit of our exoskeleton is going to work. So there are four cylinders which are working in tandem with each other. This was made just by, like biomimicking the muscle feature. So these two, when the arm is moving, the arm is flexing, these two will be pushed down, but the fluid inside of them ensures that the movement is not freely happening, and these two also work, but in the opposite direction of what these two cylinders are doing. So these are the specially designed braces to hold these micro piston cylinder assemblies, so that they are like mounting parts for the cylinders to ensure that they won't flow away with the fluid lines which are embedded into that system. Here you can see the cross section view of the exoskeleton. So there are large number of fluid lines which are moving, and they are also sectioned to show you the hollow nature. And coming to the shoe sole. So this shoe sole, as discussed before, this is used to mimic the walking effect for the human who is wearing this. So these two will be connected with the fluid conduit. So when this is pushed forward, this can send the fluid into this piston, which can mimic this walking effect. So upon calculation, we got this average surface area of the foot is 100 centimeters square, and average human body weight is 82.2 kgs. Based on that calculation, we got that when we are walking on it, we are going to get a pressure of around like 0.80638 0.80638 bar. When a human is walking on the moon, there is a reduction of around like 83.5% of pressure drop, and on Mars it will be like 62.18 percentage. And consider space, of course he is not touching the ground, but there is still a drop of pressure like 99.98 percentage. So this is another kind of insole we are going to employ into this shoe. So instead of that piston and cylinder arrangement, we are going to directly pump the fluid into this um, insole, which can enlarge and mimic the walking effect at the pre-calculated regions which are necessary for mimicking the walking condition. So, and the pressure is same as the previous case. So these are the general equations which are to be considered to design a perfect fluid circuit. So these equations will lead to flow losses, and here we can all those cylinders, all those all those cylinders are double acting cylinders. So this is to calculate the force, and here you can see the capacitance of the accumulator which are going to be used. So here you can see the final schematic diagram, fluid schematic diagram. This is the reservoir, and which is going to supply the pressurized fluid to this accumulator, which can uh, which supplies the fluid to different parts of our body. Like this is the lower foot one, where you can see this is the upper chamber where it can pressure the foot sole. So this is going to supplied by this cylinder, which is telescopic cylinder, and this is the knee joint, and this is the hip one. This is the elbow. This is the shoulder one, and here you can see there is also a flexible fluid line which is passing to the neck to control the neck movements. But so to summarize, this conceptual exoskeleton design was developed from an idea to create a sense of gravity in space. Presently, this can address problems related with musculoskeletal and cardiovascular systems under the influence of low gravity conditions during a space travel. The extra effort used by astronauts for movement during work will serve as exercise, and the walking mimicking created by shoe will help to restore the problems related with the cardiovascular system. So it can help the astronauts without interfering in their normal work and their normal body functioning. The biological considerations we have discussed um, will stand as a unique for this exoskeleton. This exoskeleton uses fluid power for its operations, and also it can allow modifications to be made so that it has some space still to embed other systems which can address other problems. Finally, this design can only be made with the additive manufacturing, because there are like micro piston cylinder arrangements which can only be fabricated with additive manufacturing. So in future, we want to study the effectiveness of this fluid power, and also looking at some other alternatives. During this time, due to less resources we had, we use the standard values which may not stand practical in practical sense. So in future, we want to use some modern human body dimensioning techniques to make specific designs for the end user. So also we are also hoping to integrate other systems which can uh, address other problems. So we authors are thankful to Dr. P. Yamini Chandrika for her suggestions during the evaluation of musculoskeletal system support. Also to Ms. K. Srilekha Mahalakshmi and Mukta Malia and Sudhir Kumar of Kakatiya Medical College for their support in clearing our queries related with medical. So, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Lavanath. I think we've got time for one question if you wanted to type it in the chat. Lavanath, thank you for your presentation, your patience. Sorry about the technical problems at first that ate into your time. Let's see. Checking the chat here. Okay. Lavanath, on slide 16, why not also consider the hips for a load-bearing location?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, so I cannot go back. Yeah. So as you can see here, we are employing two load. I mean, like here we are employing the primary reservoir on the shoulders, and here you can see we place that secondary reservoir at the hip joint. But because of placing at that lower region, so we may be getting some issues, because our foots are, I mean, like our legs are always in moving condition, so it may disturb. So we have decided to load in only at the upper part of our region, like back side of our shoulders. So that was the main reason for that. Okay. From the chat, we have another question. What
what stage are you at in developing this exoskeleton? Is it the conceptual stage or?
I mean, like this. Presently, this is the first stage. Think like this is the first stage, but in future we want to. So for that reason, we need some suggestions and collaboration. So we are waiting for.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And again, I apologize for eating into your time with the technical problems.
Thank
Very
you, thank
interesting talk. Okay. Thank you.
So here is my contact. You can contact me.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Lavaneth.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.